Artists are the true healers. I truly believe that saying, and I think that's certainly the case with the PrEPahHontoz project. When you look back through the HIV movement and you see different videos and photos of who's marching and who isn't marching, and even what was covered by the media, the Native voice and the Native narrative is definitely left out a lot of times. You don't see Natives in those early movements. I feel like it's only recently that we've really pushed to have a presence in the modern day HIV AIDS movement. If you're Native and you've been to a doctor's office or have sought any kind of service, you know that Natives are constantly being left out of data. We never have enough data, and I think it's systematic oppression also, as a way to say, oh well, there aren't enough Natives to put money towards funding their project or taking care of them in whatever the overarching cause is. And what the PrEPahHontoz TP project did, what Sheldon Raymore, the creator of the project, really did was indigenize prevention. He came up with an indigenous solution to really this modern issue. We've heard, different attitudes from different nations and different parts of the country, how they feel about HIV, how they feel about prevention, and prevention even being practiced on their land, on their territory. So it's been difficult sometimes to really use colonial modalities of prevention and treatment in Indigenous and Native nations. And PrEPahHontoz was really a brilliant way to indigenize HIV prevention and to create an indigenous HIV intervention. It was so interesting to work on the winner counts for the PrEPahHontoz TP project, create those and be in the same room with other community members as we were making the winner counts. Just kind of very naturally, people began to ask, what does this mean? Or what was the shameful winter? People just began to ask questions and began really natural conversations with each other about HIV, about prevention, about PrEP. We talked about it as it relates to our community, as it has related to our community, people who are openly positive in our community, people who unfortunately have crossed over, due to HIV in our community. So it was really a natural and, again, indigenized way of having these conversations and making people aware of PrEP and prevention modalities that were available to us. And then, of course, there's who's going to pay for it, So if you are going through IHS, or if you are, whatever your health insurance situation is, we know how complicated that can be for Native and Indigenous communities. But to have that be a part of the conversation also, it was brilliant. And Sheldon Raymore is really responsible for dropping the pebble in the water and having those pebbles ripple out. As an HIV positive person myself, to see Sheldon sort of tackle it and go in where there was so much stigma, there was so much shaming, there was, all these negative feelings and emotions around HIV and then even prevention, where people would call people on PrEP whores and this type of thing, just a negative connotation on it. And Sheldon really went in head first, and that was one of the main things he wanted to tackle, because he knew that a lot of those misconceptions or those attitudes were the result of colonial thinking. So decolonizing our brains as we begin to look at Native and Indigenous ways of HIV prevention and treatment. Sheldon was really at the forefront of that with PrEPahHontoz, and to bring prevention to people through art and through music. When PrEPahHontoz released Take the Pill, who was running around singing about taking a pill to prevent HIV? It was really a brilliant idea. And to hear people say, I had never heard of PrEP before PrEPahHontoz, that's amazing. That's wonderful. And it says that, he was onto something, that PrEPahHontoz is onto something. So I do truly, truly believe that where words fail, music speaks. And congratulations to Sheldon for really being a leader in the movement, and leading by example. And even as he's gone on to be the director of the HEN project, the Healthy Elders Network project for the American Indian Community House, he's taken that same spirit, into that project of really, what do we need? What does our community need? What do our elders need as Native American, First Nation, Indigenous elders to age positively, to age in a healthy way, and thrive with HIV in these years, in these elder years. And so Sheldon always has his ear to the ground, listening for what people need and not dictating back to people what people need, as we've seen so often with a lot of community level interventions that are, it's one intervention, it's supposed to be cookie cutter manufactured, and work for all people. And we know that that's not the case. And in Native and Indigenous communities, we definitely know that we do things our way, according to our traditions and our traditional knowledge and ways. And Sheldon is so intuitive with creating those interventions for our people. Specifically, these are Native, Indigenous HIV prevention and HIV treatment interventions. And it's something that I hope, really makes its way to the CDC as they begin to fund Indigenous HIV prevention and treatment interventions, that they really take a look at what the Indigenous community has done and really take a step back and learn and realize that we're doing something right. After 527 years, we're self-sufficient in finding ways to survive and thrive as Indigenous people. And we're still here.